All right, what's up, everybody? Hey, this is Chris Kessler with Summit Lee, and this is the first ever podcast session that we're hosting. We're excited to get this kicked off. I'm calling it Summit Lee Sessions, and we're going to have a series of discussions with some of my friends and vendors, products and solutions that they provide, where we really dig into business impact, ROI, and how these vendors and service providers are helping their clients. So today, we've got my friends from Telenet. We've got Ian and Parker on with us. Thanks for joining, guys.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Be here. Been waiting
Ian,
for this
Parker,
for a
why don't you do a
while.
quick intro? Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead, Parker.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I am the VP of Global Operations for Telnet. Brief introduction about Telnet is we're a 30-year-old BPO business process outsourcing company specializing in call center services. And I oversee our international development and expansion. Interestingly, prior to joining Telnet, I was actually a client of Telnet. I was helping a U.S. company expand into Japan, and we needed a reliable outsourcing customer service company to work with, and Telnet was recommended. And so for about 5 years, they were serving me and just providing me with stellar service and solutions to all of the issues and questions that I had. And then when I left that employer, they reached out and they said, hey, we really want to grow outside of Japan. So that's what I've been doing for the past, I think, is it 8 years now, which is kind of crazy. It's gone by very quickly.
Nice.
And we've been growing the business and having a good time within the call center industry.
Sweet. Thanks, Parker.
Great. My name's Ian. I'm actually the general manager here at Telnet with Parker. Parker brought me on board. I've been helping open up and get our call centers in the U.S. operational and running. So I'm here on the U.S. side of things, just making sure, managing all of our agents here in the U.S. Because a lot of people do like to outsource offshore, but we find many companies do look for that onshore support as well. So that's what we're also trying to do. So happy
Sweet.
to be here as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Ian. No, I appreciate you guys jumping on board. Like I said, for today's discussion, what I really want to dive into is how Telenet is providing value to your clients. And what I like to do on these discussions is pick one use case, one customer or case study. You guys can kind of pick it, but we'll use it as an example to really drive home the detail of why a business would use Telnet for services, what kind of problems are they trying to solve, or challenges or objectives, and then what impact you guys help them experience and achieve within the business. So whether that's ROI of saving money or improving customer experience or in driving revenue, whatever it is, those business drivers that you guys are really helping your clients focus on. So maybe we can just start by, at a high level, do you have a target audience or a target client type that kind of represents the best fit for Telnet?
Yeah, that's a great question. We like to work with. We found a really good niche within the, I guess, younger companies, dare I say, startups. Simply because at that level, a lot of companies, you have the founder who are juggling so many different things. They're trying to grow their business. They're doing sales. They're doing marketing, and then they also need to do customer service on top of that. And the danger in that is that their customer service could fall short because they're trying to focus on everything else. And so we've worked with a lot of companies who are trying to grow, and we help them. We help these founders, these executives of these companies, be able to focus on their business and growing their business while we handle their current and potential customers. And we've helped companies grow from small, really small operations where they only needed one or two agents at the start, and grown into massive operations where some clients, they've literally gone from 2 or 3 agents to now 400 or 500 agents.
Wow.
Because again, one of the most underrated aspects of growing a business is customer service. Because if a customer does not feel valued and like they are being listened to, then the likelihood of them returning and becoming a repeat customer just goes significantly down. So that's kind of what we work with, is help scaling companies and growing companies by ensuring that their customers have a great experience when they need something answered.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess, Ian, maybe you can answer this question. So when you're talking to prospects and you're looking at your customers, and they fit that model that Parker kind of shared, maybe they're growing or they're trying to just solve their customer experience. What is the typical value that you guys are focused on trying to provide? Is it trying to improve the customer service metrics and satisfaction? Is it trying to reduce costs versus them doing it themselves? What are kind of the main things that you guys focus on for your clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it varies a lot case by case, but there's a lot of same, pain points and issues we see with a lot of companies, especially in companies that are looking to grow. A lot of them are overwhelmed just with the volume of calls. Long wait times, high abandonment rates are, issues that come up quite often. Inconsistent quality from the agents or what companies see with when they're handling and managing their own customer service. And then I would probably just say it's a lot of firefighting instead of optimizing, a lot of reactive versus proactive. So a lot of value that we can help provide is, helping with that volume, helping with, customer service reps becoming more proactive instead of just reacting to every situation, every call, every ticket that comes up, and just trying to handle it right then and there. Where having the visibility and the transparency of the whole customer service operation, you're able to really get a hold of everything and kind of really able to just help and find value and drive the business to growth. Is kind of what Parker said. We've helped businesses grow from very small operations to very large operations.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so it kind of depends on the business and what scenario they're in, but I can see a lot of different value there. So I think, like we talked about on these discussions, I want to really kind of pick one example that you guys want to focus on, where we talk about what was their scenario before they used you, and what about your product and service helped them realize a specific business impact or ROI. You don't have to share the client name if you don't want to, or whatever, but I would like to get into some of the specifics. So maybe tell me a little bit about this scenario or the customer that you have in mind, and help me break down what was the scenario before they used Telnet, and what was driving them to look for your help or your service, originally.
Yeah, sure. I'll start out, and Ian, you can jump in and or fill in any holes that I might miss. But specifically, there's one company that we started working with a number of years ago who was quite small. We'll say they're within bill negotiation industry.
Okay.
Which to kind of give some background to that. Essentially, a few companies started up a few years ago where as things have changed within the business, where everything's a subscription now, people started paying for all these subscriptions and losing track of what they're paying for. Costs would go up after X amount of months, and so a lot of people were paying way more than they needed to be, paying for subscriptions they were no longer using. And so these companies found out that they could ironically create a subscription service where they essentially they call into an internet provider, a cell phone provider, TV provider, whoever it might be, and negotiate a better rate or deal and or cancel a subscription on behalf of these customers. So the end goal was to save customers money and time without having to call in. So that's the overarching goal, is save our customers money. At the same time, U.S. labor rates, that was kind of when it really started to pick up and take off, where labor rates were increasing significantly. Cost of living in the U.S. in general started to really pick up when these companies were being made. And so they were looking for a solution where they could still provide this service, but keep their subscription low. And in order to do that, they needed to make sure that their labor rates were low. And so they approached us in order to help out with that. And I guess to make a long story short, we've grown them from, I think they started out with 5 agents, and we now have, with one client, we have over 250 agents that are working, and we're saving them. If you look at just the labor rates, we're saving them over $1 million a year because they've gone through our offices in the Philippines. Ian, anything to add? Anything that I need to include?
Just to add, I'm sure there's many listeners right now wondering, if they overpay or have subscriptions that they pay for that they don't use, because I'm sure there are.
Yeah. Seriously, I know I have, so that's an interesting. I'll have to look into that. So, I guess they've grown with you, but if we were to, like you said, Parker, with the savings, I'd love to dive into that a little bit more. So, for those people who maybe don't know, what would be an average cost for that type of agent if you were to have the same kind of skill, experience, whatever, to do this job for this company? If they wanted to hire them domestically here in the U.S., what would they be looking at? Not through Telnet necessarily, but if they wanted to go out and hire their own person.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into that equation. If you're hiring a full-time employee, whatever minimum wage is in your state, I'm not sure what the current lowest minimum wage is
like
in
12?
what state.
Maybe a
Is
little
it
lower.
12? Probably in like Wyoming or some rural state, right? It can be pretty low. But on top of that, you have additional costs that come into play. Again, if they're working full time, you're going to have to be paying for benefits. You're going to have to be paying for phone lines, internet providers, so that people can make these calls, computers. All of those costs are calculated into your overall costs. With Telnet, everything is baked in. Labor rates are extremely low in the Philippines, but we offer everything. So our benefits are provided to our agents, our computers are provided within our 1 hourly rate, which in the Philippines, oftentimes that, depending on the specifics of the work, that can be anywhere from like $6 an hour, on the high end, $8 an hour. So right there, because you have everything baked into that 1 hourly rate, you're looking at a huge, almost halving the cost of what you would pay for just the labor rate, not including the additional overhead costs and other costs that are baked into what it costs to hire somebody on.
Yeah, that's okay. That's crazy. So you, what do we call that? I've heard like loaded cost, burdened rate. Like, what would be the term for the all-in cost?
Yeah, fully loaded is what.
And if just, what were you saying?
Is that including like all overhead costs, kind of like everything that goes into having an employee? There's so much that you don't even consider or even think about when you are just like, because I've talked to companies like I can just go when I've like shared costs and price, like I can just go get a minimum wage employee to help me out, and they're not really considering all this fully loaded costs that go into that.
So do you guys have any insight or metrics? I'm sure there's some studies out there, but on what that, and again, I'm sure it depends on state and location and all of those kinds of things. But if I'm paying a minimum wage of $12 an hour or whatever, how much additional cost should I have to factor in to get a true fully loaded cost per hour for that agent?
Yeah, there is a lot of kind of variables that go into that, and to be completely transparent, you can hire somebody on as 1099 and then not have to worry about benefits and whatnot, but there are some additional costs that come on with 1099. So for example, I'll just give some average numbers.
Yeah.
A basic hourly wage within the customer service industry is about $15.85 if we go nationwide. Compare that to our about $7, we'll say a $7.50 average. So right there, our $7.50 hourly rate is at half price. Now, if you look at benefits, on average, depending again on how many people you have this on location, national average for one employee is going to be around $2,000 per month, right there. And then on top of that, you have employer taxes. You have to pay taxes for processing the payroll. And on average, that's going to be about a few $1,000s as well. So the annual salary, it's not a super high salary. The annual salary for a in-house rep is going to be around $32,000. And then you bake in those other costs, we're looking at just under $40K per year per agent. Whereas with our costs, where everything's baked in at $7.50 an hour, the annual cost for that one agent is about $15,000. Yeah, $15,000. So about $23,000 cost savings.
So if we take the $23,000 cost savings in this particular use case, and we just say, like you said, 250 agents. So that's $5.75 million that they would pay. Well, hold on. What is that? Yeah. No, that's savings. That's the savings, right? So if they're saving 23 grand, yeah, that's 5.75 million in savings.
And that's just off of the cost.
Exactly. Yeah. Most of the time, people just look at the labor rates and they have these blinders of apples to apples is labor rates right up against each other, but that's not the case. There's these additional costs. Of course, yeah. It changes as we go to different countries and whatnot. This is strictly for the Philippines that these numbers are coming from. Our satisfactory scores from both the client and also our client's customers who utilize it are equally as high, if not better, than their in-house agents that they were using previously as well. So that's an additional ROI, is they're maintaining quality of service while having these massive amounts of savings, cost savings each year as well.
Yeah, and if you can, like you said, if you can experience that kind of savings and ROI, but maintain the same level of service, like it's hard to justify not doing that. Right? Like, now one thing that I've experienced a little bit and seen, and I'd love to get your take on, is the general sentiment I've heard when it comes to the Philippines is that they are really, really amazing when it comes to customer service, customer support. They do great kind of sympathizing and helping clients through different things. They might not be a fit for maybe something that's more aggressive, like a sales job or other things. So with just talking about this particular client or the Philippines call center opportunities, are there certain scenarios where you guys recommend, hey, the Philippines and this potential lower cost is a great fit for you, but it's not a great fit for this necessarily?
100%. Yeah, that's something we pride ourselves on at Telnet is being transparent, and we recognize that our solution is not going to be the best case for everybody. And so, yeah, sometimes if you get too nice of a person and you want a little bit more aggression with your sales, sure, there's great salesmen in the Philippines. I don't want to discredit the Philippines and say that they're not there, but within our company and our culture, where we strive to just put forth this incredible, high quality, hospitable service level, that's where we really have our forte. And if you need us to do something outside of that, we'll be like, hey, we're willing to try it, but just so you know, our specific excellence and expertise is more focused in this area.
So what?
Every once in a while, we'll run into the occasional business or company that's not really looking for cost savings. They just want to find support onshore in the U.S. Because there's definitely that cultural side of value that people see of just having somebody in the U.S. answer their phones. So there is definitely that part of the business, and those conversations are much different because they're not like worrying about the cost that we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I understand that. I think I don't know if we can quantify it on this call, but I do believe that there's a business impact to using a service provider like yourself. Let's say you're just looking at a domestic call center and you want to keep the agents domestically as well. Well, this is your bread and butter. This is what you guys specialize in and focus on. So, there's going to be benefits of efficiency and productivity and tools and processes that you guys have that maybe that startup business or that growing company that's selling a widget or providing a service where they don't know call center, they don't run a team, it's just a necessity to support their business. So by taking that off of their plate, even if they're paying the same per hourly rate to you, there's probably efficiency and opportunity gains by doing it that way, because that's what you guys live in and specialize in. Would you agree?
100%. Because when we were talking about, the value and where we're saving, we didn't really get into much of, training and coaching and the time that goes into and what you pay for to get agents up and ready and answering calls to the level that you want them to. And so that's a whole other thing that we're talking about as well that we didn't dive in as much. But having an outsourced provider that has agents already well experienced in customer service, they know how to handle calls, they know how to deal with people, they know what it takes, day in, day out, supporting a business. And that's something that has value in itself that we're kind of getting at. So,
Okay. That kind of leads me to another question, which would be like average or expected timeline. So if there's a business out there that feels like, hey, I think Telnet could be a great opportunity for us, or they could solve some needs. How long does it typically take a client to get up and running with you guys? I would imagine it depends on how many agents and things like that. But on average, what do you tell customers? We can go from signatures to having you live and experiencing these benefits within what time frame?
I think we try to move as quickly as we can. And like we say, it's case by case. So sometimes they're very, the training and the level of, call handling required can vary. I like to think a lot of cases we can get agents up and running in, a couple weeks. I don't know if that sounds about right, Parker.
Yeah,
Wow.
I would say 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, we want the agents to be confident in their training and understanding of their business. We really try and have people view our agents as one of their own. Even though they're in a different location, we want it to be a very much an in-house feel, and that doesn't just go for the customers that are calling into these people, but for the agent itself and the our clients who are working with these agents. The better you invest into them and give them the same attention that you would an in-house employee, the better experience everybody's going to have. And so, 2 to 3 weeks. Like you said, there's a little bit of variation. I would say as an exception, we have done it within a few days before. Like we've been up and running where somebody needed one agent.
Wow.
Within a couple of days. We conversation, something signed on Monday, and we're training on Wednesday and Thursday, running on Friday. But yeah, even larger scale things we've done before. I think we brought on increased by 75 to 100 agents within 2 weeks. So scaling is very, very much a possibility, but I wouldn't put. There's different variables, but we do try and work quickly and efficiently.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. I think this is really helpful. I think, one of the last questions I wanted to have you guys maybe share some light on would just be, are there any specific things that you guys would recommend businesses kind of evaluating or looking at? If they've thought about, should I use an outsourcing partner? Is it a fit for my business? Are there a couple of questions that you generally have them ask themselves or look at to determine, like, okay, yes, this is what we should consider? And then secondly to that, do you guys ever do things like, proof of concept, or hey, let's roll things out with 5 agents and make sure that we can, hit your metrics, and then we'll do the full rollout, just so that customers feel like they can verify and validate the ROI that they're expecting or hoping with your services.
Absolutely. Yeah. We want to be an incredible partner for everybody. And we are constantly analyzing things ourselves. We try and gather as much information from existing customer service situations of current call volume, what the current handling time is, so that not only we can meet those expectations, but also hopefully surpass the expectations and provide just a phenomenal product to our customers. So we aim to be flexible. We're very transparent with, hey, this is how many agents we recommend up front. All of our contracts are month to month because, again, we recognize that needs change as well. We do offer some discounts if someone wants to lock in for longer terms, but the flexibility is a key aspect, I think, of this. And if people want to feel like, hey, I actually want to bring this in-house, or we want to do this a little bit differently, we don't want people to feel tied down and just put up with our business. That's what I'll say initially. Ian?
That's a good question, and I agree with everything that you just said. When companies are evaluating customer service or, an outsourcing provider, I think the questions you guys just really want to ask is, how do you feel about your customers? I think a lot of times customer service is sort of pushed on the back end. You don't really think of it as a revenue driving part of business. But when you have efficient customer service, I think it can be a real revenue driver. When you have agents handling and dealing with calls every day, you can create a really good, strong brand authority, brand loyalty that you don't think about much, but that is just as important as everything else. I don't know, I think every company should just really evaluate how they deal and handle their customers. And do they feel like their customers are being heard? Do they feel like their customers are getting the help that they need? Because I think when you start asking those questions, you start really looking at what you can do or how you can help or, work with customers better.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I'll add too, when considering, it's a pretty competitive industry. There's a lot of call center companies, and the life of call center companies is not super long, and so I think our longevity in the industry kind of speaks for itself. Hey, we've been here for 30 years, and that shows that people trust us. People want to work with us because they have a great experience, and so looking at that just as a social proof of, hey, this company knows what they're doing because they've been in the industry for so long is important. Obviously, they're doing something right. Otherwise, they would have gone under a long time ago.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I think those are great points. I appreciate you guys taking some time to dig into this with me, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think, Ian, the question you asked is really powerful. I think a lot of companies, I've seen this even with companies that I own, where you just kind of assume, well, hey, I'm going to do a great job because it's my company, it's my brand, whatever. But I think the earlier conversation we had, which is, call center is pretty unique. There is a science to it. There's processes behind it. There's tools that are required, especially if you're doing it at scale. And if your main focus of a company is, your product and innovation and sales and all those kinds of things, there's probably some big ROI opportunity to find a partner like Telnet that can just focus on just that. And like we talked about, chances are you're going to, improve your customer service and reduce your costs. I think there's big ROI opportunities there. So this is huge. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. If anybody wants to talk to Telnet, reach out to me. I can make some introductions. These guys are great. And we'll wrap up. But thanks again for your time today, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
It was great being
Thanks,
here.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.